Hi guys, welcome to Sam Talks Cars. I'm Sam Busby and I'm a freelance automotive journalist, and I started Sam Talks Cars in July of 2019. So far I've been read over 7,000 times worldwide. I've loved cars all of my life and I'm most passionate about supercars and high performance marques. To put it bluntly, I'm a big-nosed bearded idiot who likes to write about cars, and I've been fortunate to own a few quick ones too. Today we're talking about the highest mileage supercharged Audi RS4 in the world and how this idiot was stupid enough to buy it. So we'll start. It's around March 2019, my 2001 Audi RS4 is up for sale on various auction sites, PistonHeads, eBay, Auto Trader, and just for a laugh, the Facebook Marketplace. Then I end up getting a message from this guy, and he's umming and ahhing about buying my B5 RS4. He mentioned he has a couple of interesting RS marques already, one of which being an 800 horsepower C6 Audi RS6. The other being a TTS supercharged RS4 in Daytona Grey. So if you know your cars, there's 1400 horsepower between these two beasts, one of which, the RS6, being a V10 bi-turbo from Audi and Lamborghini, and the supercharged RS4 being the 4.2 litre naturally aspirated V8 with a bespoke supercharger kit made in Silverstone bolted to the top of it. He states he really needs to downsize his collection, but that he will be in touch in the future. And you know how it is on the Facebook Marketplace. I didn't really expect to hear from him again. A number of fellow enthusiasts asked me during this time whether I'd be returning to a B7 Audi RS4, as when I was 21, I had a Daytona Grey RS4 saloon. I replied no, but I stated I'd always had an interest in building a supercharged B7 RS4 in the future. APR and TTS supercharged cars have been the holy grail of the B7 world, and good enough to scare even the newest Audi RS6s. A day or so elapses and this guy shoots me another message regarding my B5, and he casually mentions he owns a supercharged RS4 he would like to do a deal with. I laugh this off casually as a supercharged B7 RS4 is worth anything around £30,000 in the UK at that sort of time. I think my B5 RS4 with fairly low mileage, I think 88,000, is worth about £20,000. So we've got an obvious gulf in price. But he insists that he's interested in a swap, so I play along to see where this goes. About 10 minutes later, he coughs up what can only be described as the lowest resolution picture of a car that I've ever seen. It was a Daytona Grey brick shape that could have been an RS4 or it could have been a wall. It was very hard to tell. Literally something reminiscent of Minecraft. Anyhow, he mentioned the mileage of this car is, in brackets, quite high at around 170,000 miles. Something I would consider gargantuan, but we all have our own perspective. However, it's been at MRC Tuning in Banbury, and they're a renowned Audi tuner. It's receiving a new supercharger kit, and I'm not one to shy away at mileage, so we talk a little more about price and the car's well-documented history, as it was originally a TTS development car. I say I'd be interested in a swap if the car is as good as it sounds. Here comes the best bit. He agrees to meet with me when the car is ready. Around a couple of weeks or so elapse, and we message occasionally to see where this is going. However, after several delays, which total up to 4 months at MRC, we agree to meet at my place of work. I detail the B5 after having a front-end respray, and I spruced it up looking well. When up turns this dirty, neglected-looking RS4, looking like it's been sat under a tarpaulin for about 6 months during the harshest winter. But I stick with it. We shake hands and have a chat, and he throws me the key. I have a look round, disappointed to see comfort seats, as the B7 was renowned for these sumptuous sculpted buckets that just hold you perfectly, and when you hit the sport button, the bolsters clench around you. However, the buyer assures me he has the buckets and they're safely in storage, and I can have them if I wish. I open the bonnet, and the most comical tired squeak groans out as I raise the bonnet. The engine bay is filthy, considering it's been worked on and serviced. It looks like it's been pasted around the desert. Then comes the bodywork. The lower door trim's bowed out as water is ingressed and corroded the bottom of the doors. There's also a small corrosion patch on the front of the aluminium right wing, which is a little tricky to deal with, but I've got a good paint guy, so I knew I could rectify that, should I wish. There's tatty black wrap around all the grills and windows, and fitted at the most haggard-looking rear brake discs I've ever seen. The car is a disappointment, to say the least. I get into the dirty and dusty cockpit and fire it up. It just about stutters into life, but to my relief, once started, it sounds solid on tickover. I have a little test drive around the airside car park and no rattles to report, no bangs, no clunks. But this car was far from mint. With my B5 looking significantly the better car, I tried to leverage the deal a little, stating I would like the bucket seats fitted to save me a job, and the factory wheels provided as a spare set because it had this 20-inch set of black rotiforms that just made the ride unbearable. It also had an interesting modification. The mirror caps had been painted and colour coordinated in Daytona grey, and if you know anything about the Audi RS marks, the brushed aluminium or the satin finish to the mirrors and the window surrounds and sometimes the roof bars on estate cars really give it away that these are the performance marks of the Audi world. So when they were in Daytona grey, they looked a little bit out of place. Maybe that's just my eye. However, we part ways and he leaves it to think over. And that was it. He vanished, as far as I knew. A good week to 10 days elapse. He's read my messages, but no reply. And I feel despite its tatty appearance, the deal of a lifetime may have passed me by. However, I eventually receive a message and he says something along the lines of, I like the car. Where do we go from here? I quote a date out of thin air in early April as it's on my days off, and there it was, agreed. I invited a friend down from Wales as I knew he adored my B5 and he hadn't actually seen or driven it since I'd bought it. So off we set early one morning, my friend behind the wheel, and we began our journey. I appreciated the comfy leather seats and the carbon-clad dash, my friend enjoying the Alcantara steering wheel and just the overall character of the B5 RS4. Realising it's the last time I'm ever going to be inside it, or see it for that matter. The distinct smell all VAG cars have from the early noughties era. And we arrive, and like a jolly Father Christmas, the owner who towered above me both in stature and breadth with a sizable beard says he has a surprise for me. He'd had the B7 valeted, to which it looked even more respectable. I looked closer and he'd even had the bucket seats fitted, as his colleagues from work wrapped the OEM wheels and placed them carefully on the back seats. I went to sign off the documents while my friend looked over the car. And just like that, at the age of 24, in April 2019, I took ownership of my third Audi RS4, this one being TTS supercharged. A car I dreamt of was finally mine. The dream came crashing down around 10 minutes later when one accidental spirited launch lit up all four Fred's tyres very quickly, followed by the glint of the ESP and ABS lights. So after a slightly tentative drive home, I've shot myself in the foot. I managed to give it a much needed clean and decontamination with a clay bar. However, a new mass airflow meter had to be ordered, which thankfully rectified the issue. And that is how I managed to own a 178,000 mile Audi RS4, which by the way was producing I think around 615 brake horsepower at the flywheel at this time. And most of all, it had a manual gearbox. And I can honestly say that I adored this car and it was my daily driver for about 5 or 6 months before something happened, is all I'm going to leave it as. But it was a terrific example and I'm really glad I owned it. So guys, thank you so much for listening. You can check out my automotive blog on the link below and let me know your thoughts. Alternatively, you can follow Sam Talks Cars on Facebook or Instagram. Please remember to like, subscribe or leave a comment down below with your thoughts. Thank you.